Hello friends, I am Dr. Krishnapriya, a dentist from Kerala. In my last video, I have described about top 10 tips to get Band 8 in IELTS listening. In today's video, I would describe top 10 tips to get very good scores in IELTS speaking in the very first attempt. Moving on to the brief description of IELTS speaking test. IELTS speaking test is same for all type. That is, if you are giving general or academic training IELTS, you will give the same speaking test. The same questions, the same format, the same pattern as well as the same scoring. Also, the IELTS speaking test is taken from 10 to 15 minutes, and the first 4 to 5 minutes you will give your speaking test part 1. Actually, the IELTS speaking test is divided into 3 parts: speaking test part 1, 2 and 3. So, first I will give a brief description about speaking test part 1. It is taken for 4 to 5 minutes. The first section starts with an introduction. The examiner introduces himself or herself, and then he or she will ask you to introduce yourself. After that, he will ask you some questions, some simple questions about yourself. That is, from where you come from, your likes, dislikes, your hobbies, are you working or studying, etc. So and so. Simple such questions he will ask. The way they mark this part of IELTS is they are looking specifically for pronunciation, fluency, vocabulary, and grammar with accuracy. First, going on to pronunciation. Pronunciation is how you pronounce each and every word while you speak. So, it's very important to pronounce each and every word accurately. Next one is fluency. Fluency is the rate and rhythm of what you speak. So, if there are many pauses or breaks when you speak, it will go negatively. That is what is meant by fluency. And the third one is vocabulary. Vocabulary, you can use high level words instead of low level words. For example, if you are using plethora, ambivalent, etc., such words are high level words compared to low level words, good, bad, like that way. So that's what is known as vocabulary. It is also known as lexical resources. And the fourth one is grammar with accuracy. So you should speak each and every part or everything in different tenses. That is, not use one tense as such, present tense or past tense or future. As such, you should not use. You should change the tenses whenever needed, wherever necessary. And also, you should use correct grammar with accuracy. That's what meant by grammar with accuracy. All these 4 components are marked equally. So now, let's move on to IELTS speaking part 2. It lasts for about 3 minutes. The first minute, you will be given a question card and a paper. The question card, there will be a question, as well as there will be some sub-points, sub-questions there will be, such as, for example, describe a museum where you went recently. That will be the question. And sub-questions will be where it is, why did you go there, and how long it took to explore the place. Like that way, some sub-questions will be there. And that's what it will be given in the first minute. And you have to make notes, take points, and summarize what you have to tell in the next 2 minutes in the first minute given. After that, you will be asked to talk continuously for the next 2 minutes. Actually, the difficulty level increases from as we move from part 1 to part 3. Part 1 is little bit easy, part 2 is somewhat in between, and part 3 is much more difficult. So some questions or some topics related to questions in part 2 are sometimes they will ask you a gift you received, a special trip you went, and something like what a movie you watched, and etc. So such questions they will ask you, and so they will give some sub questions as well. So for me, it was when I did the exam, it was to describe a habit that I developed frequently. So that was my question. So now let's move on to IELTS speaking part 3. It lasts for about 4 to 5 minutes and it's much more difficult. It's more like an interview. Actually, the examiner will ask you some sort of questions and you respond. So after that, actually the IELTS part 3, speaking part 3 is the much more a continuation of IELTS speaking part 2, because in IELTS speaking part 2, if you are given a question about describe a teacher you like, then speaking part 3 will be much more about education, about what's the difference between the system of education in the past than the present, and all those such things. Much more, mostly it will be correlated, the part 2 as well as the part 3. Part 3 is actually based on a theme. The topics of common interest include television, transportation, environment, and so on. Actually, it lasts for about 4 to 5 minutes, and you have to substantiate your answers with reasons and examples. Moving on to the tips and tricks of getting good scores in IELTS speaking test is, the first tip is present yourself with confidence. You should be friendly and you should have a pleasant smile on your side. So, if you have a good body language, it will create a very good impact on the examiner. And also, one important thing you have to remember is always maintain eye contact with the examiner. It influences them, it gives a positive impact as well. So first tip is confidence. The second tip is use good vocabulary while you speak. That means vocabulary means lexical resources. You should use topic related high level words instead of low level common words. It can be improved through regular practice, reading newspapers, journals, articles, and so on. Also, I will give you an example. That is, if you want to tell, sometimes in the first part they will ask you what are the hobbies, and you will tell that I like to play badminton. So every time you will be telling I like. So instead of that, you can tell I enjoy playing badminton. If they ask you which fruit you like most, you could tell that you like mangoes. Instead of that, you could tell I prefer to have mangoes often. So change words, use vocabulary, good good words instead of common words. That is tip 2. The third tip is expand your answer and enhance your quality of your answer with suitable examples as well as reasons. So I will give you an example. That is, if the examiner asks you if you like sports, you just say that in one word, that is yes. That is not enough, because you have to elaborate your answer. You have to tell, yes, I enjoy doing sports. My favorite sport is badminton, and I how you find time and how you develop such a habit. Everything you have to exaggerate and elaborate with reasons as well as examples, and that will increase your score level to a very good one. So the first 3 tips, actually it was the tips of doing part 1 speaking test, part 1 session, and the next tips are about part 2 session. And so the fourth tip is take notes. That is, write notes, keep points while you do. Get the time for writing notes for part 2 question card. As I have already told, part 2 is based on a question card, and you will be given the first minute to write notes about what you're going to tell. So at that time, utilize it judiciously, utilize it and write notes, keep a summary, and answer all the sub questions. Every sub question should be answered, should not leave anything. The fifth tip is you can tell the truth or you can lie. That is, if the question is describe a museum that you have went recently, you can tell about a museum that you have already went and that you can elaborate that experience. Or if you haven't gone to any museum, you could cook up a story and you could tell, you can elaborate the answer with examples and so on. Actually, it doesn't matter if you have gone there or not. It matters how you present your answer. And that's tip number 5. The sixth tip is organize your speech. That is, as you write an essay, first you have to give an introduction, then you have to address all the points, all the sub-points that is asked in the question card. That is the body of the speech. And the third one is you have to give a conclusion as well. And that is what is this my sixth tip. The seventh tip is use transitions. When you give your answer, you can tell that firstly, secondly, thirdly, finally, or you can tell after that, despite of, like that. You can use transitions, and that will increase your score as well. Because when you use transitions, there will be an impact that you are very fluent in English, and thereby your fluency as well as coherence marks increases. So now moving on to the tip number 8. 4, 5, 6, 7 tips are about part 2 session, and number 8, 9, 10 tips are about part 3 session. So tip number 8, that is, listen to the key words in the question. So actually part 3 I have already told, they will ask you 4 to 5 questions, and most often it will be related to the topic which you get in part 2 on the question card. So you have to listen to all the key words in the question, elaborate it, substantiate your answer with reasons as well as good examples. And that is tip number 8. The 9th tip is divide up your answers. For example, if you are given a question like describe some ways to overcome the challenges in transportation, you could tell that you could divide the answer by telling that there are 3 ways. First way, give a reason, give an example. The second way, the third way, give reasons and examples, and all such things. So you can divide your answers, and that is tip number 9. It will increase your points to a maximum. The 10th tip is learn opinion expressions. For example, in part 3, as I have already told, they are ask you questions, 4 to 5 questions, and you will be asked about your opinions, comparisons, and so on. So at that time, repeatedly, instead of repeatedly using I think, I believe, and so on, such words, you can use it appears to me that, it seems to me that, like that way. You can use opinion expressions. It will boost your score. These are the 10 tips which I used when I gave the exam. So, to get good scores in IELTS speaking, you should be calm as well as confident. Be audible. Move in a moderate pace. That is, speed should be moderate. Not too fast, not too slow. And also, you should think that you will perform well. You should think it continuously, and you should present it with confidence. And that is what is a major tip of IELTS speaking test. Everything can be achieved through regular practice. So practice well before giving the exam. And one more thing, if you want to study individually without undertaking any coaching for speaking, you can do Makar IELTS final version PDF, and the link of that I will be giving in the description box. So if you found any information useful in this video, please do like, comment, and share the video, and subscribe my YouTube channel. I will be back with videos and tips regarding IELTS writing as well as reading. Thank you.